And I can take the data from here and send it directly to a Google Sheet or Excel from Jotform if I want to, which is super helpful if I'm already accessing my data there. In my Google Drive, I can open up that Google Sheet and I can see the different submissions that have come in. Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. Everyone ends up using one of them without really putting thought into which one. So today I'm going to put them side by side and walk through the differences by working with real data so you can decide what might work best for you. Whether you're just starting out or you're curious after using spreadsheets for a while, you're going to walk away with a new understanding of what's possible. You can use the chapters in the description if you want to jump to a specific section. Let's dive in. So here's how they both look. On the left, we've got Google Sheets, and on the right, we've got Excel online. And as you can see, they're pretty similar. They are spreadsheets. They've all got cells in the middle with the rows and the columns. They've got a menu bar across the top. And the biggest difference really is just the style of the page. Now, Google Sheets was born in the web. It's always been available in the web browser. Whereas Excel started life as a proper app on Windows or Mac, and then over time they've introduced a web version. That means that you have a few different versions of Excel that exist where someone could be using it on their computer or in a browser. But with Google Sheets, everything that everyone sees will always look the same. Arguably, if people are comfortable with the app that they're using, it shouldn't make much difference. But when it comes to collaborating, it might do. So let's have a look at what real-time collaboration looks like in both of these tools. In Google Sheets here, the first thing I'm going to do is click the share button on the top right of the screen, and I just type my colleague's email address in like this, and I can choose which level of access to give them, like so, and I can send that permission. So now on the left-hand side, I'm showing you my screen, the one that I just shared, and on the right-hand side is my colleague Tanya's screen. So I'm going to act as Tanya for a second to see how quickly the changes appear from the right to the left. Immediately, you can see that when I click on a cell, on the left-hand side, that cell is also moving around. Each person gets assigned a color. And at the top of the screen, you can see who's currently viewing the document, and they have that same ring of color around their avatar. What if I click on, say, a product here, though, and change it from gift box to travel mug like this? Well, on the left-hand side, you can see that someone is editing the cell, but you don't see what they're typing as they type it in until they save it by hitting enter. And the way that spreadsheets work, that makes sense because they might be changing their mind before it's finished. A little bit different to a document. Let's undo that change and see how it works. And it's pretty much instant, well under a second, maybe 1/10 of a second or something like that. And all of these changes are being saved in real time as we go. There is version history inside Google Sheets. If I mouse over this icon at the top of the screen, it says last edit was seconds ago. If I click on it, it shows me all the versions of the document. In fact, it's showing me the change here that Tanya has made. I can see that Dean, that's me, is in green here, so any changes that I've made would appear on the sheet like this. And I can always go and restore a prior version if I want to. The other thing we can do here is click on one of the cells. So let's choose this cell here. I'm going to right click and choose to comment on the cell by choosing the comment option at the bottom here. And I might just say something like, is this correct? And click to save that comment. And you see on the other view, on the left-hand side from the other user, that cell now has this small yellow triangle on the top right of it. So if I just move away as Tanya, now if I click on here as this other user, it shows up the comment. I can reply, or I can just resolve it if it's something that I've fixed. It's pretty seamless. There's no waiting around. Everyone is definitely seeing the same thing at the same time, and those changes are coming through quickly. So now let's see what that looks like in Microsoft Excel. Here's that same spreadsheet in Excel, and just like before, on the top right of the screen, they have a share button. I can click on here, and then I've got a few different options where I can copy the link right away, or copy the link just to this one sheet, but I'm going to click the share option. It pops up a really similar box here where I can put an email address in like this, and then I can choose, like before in Google Sheets, whether they can edit or they can view. But you see there's no comment option here in Excel Online. So I'm going to leave it as can edit and click send. But let's open up the other user and put them side by side like I did a moment ago so we can see what collaboration looks like in real time. So on the left is the account I was already signed in with. On the right is the person that I've shared it with. And you can see on each person's screen, the green highlight is their own selection. And the other user, similar to Google Sheets, is shown in a different color. So on this account, it's seeing blue. On this account, it's seeing purple. And it actually shows the initials of the person here as well. And like in Google Sheets, at the top of the screen, if I click where it says +1 here, we can see each person that is in the sheet. It says where they are, and it has that colored ring around them. Really similar. So what if I click in one of these, like here, where it says gift box, and change that to travel mug? You see, as I type it, it's showing on the other person's screen that they're typing with those bouncing dots, but it doesn't gray out the cell or stop them from working in it. when I hit enter, like with Google Sheets, it's very quick. It updates instantly for the other person to see. And you can comment in Excel online. You just can't add someone with only comment permission. It's either view or edit. So I can right click on one of these cells like I did before and choose new comment. And I could leave the same comment, something like, is this right? I can click to send that comment. And again, on the other person's screen now, there's this icon that kind of appears on the top right of the box. And if they were to click on it, they have to actually hover over in Excel to see the comment like this. And similar to before, they can reply to it here, or they can click on these three dots and then choose to resolve or delete that thread. And one interesting note in Microsoft Excel is that when you resolve a comment, it actually still stays there, but it's just now grayed out. So it sits there. If you want to get rid of the actual icon, you'd have to click to delete that thread from the sheet. And if you want to see all the changes that have been made, Excel also has version history. It's under the File menu here, down to version history. And just like with Google Sheets, if I drag this so you can see a bit more, you can see each of the edits that are made. So if I click on here, it will then show me the changes that people have made in the sheet. Like before, it shows the name of each person that's made the change. So it seems here like it's actually a little bit behind. I'm not seeing any highlights in the cells of what has actually been updated. And in theory, this should work pretty similarly, even if you're in an app on your computer, though I found in the past that it tends to be a little bit slower if you're working in apps versus being in the cloud. So if you want to collaborate, I would recommend opening Excel on the web in your browser. Let's switch back to Google Sheets to have a look at how formulas work in both of them. We'll start with the basics and then look at what stands out individually between them. So back on my Google Sheet here, I'm going to click in column H. In fact, let me zoom in slightly by clicking the zoom level here and doing this. And I'm going to, in H1, type total. I'm going to write a formula in cell H2 to multiply the number of units by the unit price. So I type equals. And when I do that, Google Sheets is clever enough to think, oh, it's total. I'm probably going to want to multiply units by unit price. And it's giving me the option just to click here and get it done automatically to save me even typing it. And then when I click down one, it gives me the option to autofill. So I don't even need to click and drag this all the way down or write another formula. I just tick this box and it's done the same formula for all of those rows now. Super helpful and quick. What if I want to sort data? There's a couple of options. On any column, I can click on the arrow here and it will give me the option to sort the sheet A to Z or Z to A like this. Or I can click on the first row like this and then choose the filter button at the top of the screen and it will then add filters to each of those columns. So I could click and filter A to Z for new or returning, or I could click on that filter button and just only show returning and click OK here. And now I'll only see returning orders like this. And if you want to get more advanced when it comes to sorting and calculating data, you might be using pivot tables. That is possible in Google Sheets. We just go to Insert and then Pivot Table here in the menu. It asks me what data I should be looking at for the pivot table. It's picked it up automatically from this sheet. And I can choose to insert this pivot table in this sheet that I'm working in or in a new sheet. That's like a tab at the bottom of the spreadsheet. I'm going to keep it as new sheet and click create. And here's my blank pivot table. Now Google Sheets give me some suggestions over here for what I might want in that pivot table, which is really helpful. But I don't want to use any of these. I want to figure out revenue by region. So for rows, I'm going to choose region over here. So now I see a list of the regions on column A. And if I scroll down under values, I'm going to choose total. And when I've done that, you see it says summarize by sum. So we know that these are the totals for each region with the grand total at the bottom. So when I look at this, I can see that the North is the best performing region. I want to make this a bit more visual for the team to see. So I'm just going to click and drag to highlight this whole pivot table and then go to Insert. And I can add charts in Google Sheets just by clicking the chart option here. Straight away, it drops in this column chart and I can click and drag, move this around, and I can make edits by clicking on any of the text and so on. There are a few formulas that exist in Google Sheets that don't exist in Excel. Let's quickly have a look at them. If I just go to sheet 1 here and type equals, if you type the word Google, you'll see there's a couple of options here. One is Google Finance, so it can pull in real-time financial data from the markets. The other is Google Translate, where it can translate text in a cell into another language in the cell that I'm putting this formula in. Now let's try and do all of that in Microsoft Excel. And in cell H1, I'm going to type the word total. And then in cell H2, I'm going to put equals. Now you can see in Excel Online, I don't get that autofill, which is a shame, but I can still click on the cell like this to select it, then type the asterisk for the multiply, and then choose the unit price here. And if I'd hit enter, then I get the answer. And again, if I click here, there's no autofill option that's coming up. So I would need to click and drag this box down here to fill the rest of the column, or you can just double click on that square as well and it would do the same thing. What about sorting? Well, let's go back to the Home tab on the menu here. And again, I've got the filter option over here, so I could choose to sort ascending or descending based on where I'm at. There's no arrow on each individual column to do that, but it is in this menu, so I could sort ascending by sales channel, or I can click on the same button on the menu and choose filter, and that's where we get that full filter option that we saw earlier as well. So I can click on customer type here and I could untick select all, just choose returning and click apply, and now I only see returning customers in this list. Let's see what a pivot table looks like in Excel. So on the menu, I'm going to go to Insert up here and choose Pivot Table. Gives me the same prompt that I saw in Google Sheets where it asks for the range. It's picked up the range automatically. Asks whether I want it in a new worksheet or an existing one. So I choose new worksheet, click OK, and it adds that sheet as a tab at the bottom here. And similar to before, I can now build my pivot table. There's no suggestions here in Excel Online though. So I'm going to build the pivot table in the same way. Remember, I want to look at revenue by region. So for rows, I'm going to click and drag region over here. And then for values, I'm going to click and drag total into the box here. And there is the same type of pivot table that I had before. And if I want to make that more visual again, I can just click and drag to highlight it like so, and then go back to insert on the top here. And you can see that I've got a few different chart types to choose from, or I can click this arrow button to see them all. Let's just stick with the column chart for now. And it drops in the column chart, similar to how Google Sheets did a moment ago. But whilst we've been working directly in the spreadsheets so far, that's not always where the data comes from to start with. You wouldn't always be using a blank spreadsheet and just typing data in. Instead, you might start with a form like this one in Jotform. It's a customer order form where I'm asking for people's full name, their email address, region, and then their order as well, with a whole product list and quantities that they can select from here. And I can take the data from here and send it directly to a Google Sheet or Excel from Jotform if I want to, which is super helpful if I'm already accessing my data there. The way to do it is to go into Settings, and on the left-hand side of the Settings menu in Jotform, I've got an Integrations option. And I can search those integrations, so I could look for Excel to start with here. And if I click on Excel, it allows me to choose where I want the data to be added. So can I add a row to a new workbook, an existing one, or a new table or an existing table? Let's choose new workbook because this is a different form from the one that with the data that I've been using so far, and click next. And then I can choose all of the different options here. So I'm just choosing the default folder for my OneDrive. I need to give it a name and also give the sheet a name inside it, and then choose which columns are going to be included. So it's got all of the data that the customers put in here, but I can also check the boxes for the submission edit dates and edit URLs if I want to be able to click on that URL to quickly edit that submission, maybe if the customer made an error. It's obviously super helpful. And I think the submission date is something that I wouldn't want to miss here either. And then I can click Save. And now every time someone fills out that form, it's going to be added to a new line in that sheet. So let's see how it works. In a new tab, I'm going to go to that form so that we can fill it out and just put some details in here and then click Place Order. And over in my OneDrive, I've opened up that sheet. I go to the tab that says Form Responses here, and we can see that response has come through. I've got the date, I've got all of the information of the order, and so on. Super helpful. And I can do exactly the same in Google Sheets. So back in Jotform, all I need to do is go back from the integrations here, this time search for sheets like this, and then connect Google Sheets in the same way. I'm going to add a row to a new spreadsheet, click Next, choose the account that I want to use, and again, choose all of the different information that I want to be sent as well, and then save it. And then I'm going to go back to that form, fill it out again with some different information so we can see, and then place the order. Then in my Google Drive, I can open up that Google Sheet and I can see the different submissions that have come in. So I've got that original one from Joe Blogs and now that second one from Dean Stokes. And I'm connected to both Excel and Sheets at the same time. You can have multiple integrations connected with that data being sent to them as people complete the form. You don't have to send data away from Jotform though. If you like keeping everything in one place, we can switch in Jotform from the form builder to Tables. And Tables is almost like a spreadsheet built into Jotform that captures all of that information. I really love how visual this is. So when someone's chosen different options for the region and the products, you can see here how they're highlighted in different colors. So to recap, Google Sheets is built in the web and always has been. That means collaboration is baked in from the get-go and everyone gets exactly the same experience because everyone is using it in browser. For Excel, you can collaborate in just the same way, but everyone might see things slightly differently if they're using the Mac app versus the Windows app versus in the browser. And if your data starts as form submissions, then you probably want to use Jotform and decide whether you're sending the data to Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel with those integrations, or just using tables that is natively built into Jotform. I hope this was a quick, helpful overview. If it was, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.